Is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning, warning.
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all!
See how the trouble you've started?
Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if we're live here, but this is LB Bork with People's Awareness Coalition. We didn't get the grand instructions today, or recently, as we needed them. I think we're live. Anyway, Frank, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, we're on Skype, so I am sure we can hear each other, of course. But anyway. I don't know if you're listening. Maybe you could Skype me if you have a Skype connection with me and let me know what's going on. I suppose we could get into the chat room on the website too and ask people if they could hear us. I'm not too versed with the system here yet. This is all new to me, even though we did a couple, comp shows a couple of months ago. I still not familiar with the system here. I don't know. We didn't get a technician set up or a producer yet, so we're just kind of filling in here until the end of the year and advertise and promote what we're trying to accomplish is what we're going to do until we get things streamlined a bit. Maybe you could talk a little bit, Frank, and maybe we're talking to dead air. I don't know. I'm going to check to see.
No, we're live. Danny just said we're live.
Oh yeah,
he just messaged me on Facebook. So
yeah, I got one on Skype here. Well, thanks, Danny. Thanks for letting us know. So I guess we can continue here with our regular scheduled program. So
all right.
Anyway, how you been, Frank?
I've been pretty busy.
Yeah, that's good. Your business is picking up, which is good. I think the economy's pulling forward a little bit. I don't know if it's out of the hole yet. got a lot to catch up on. But anyway, yeah, like I said, this is LB Bork with the People's Awareness Coalition. I'm not quite together today. This is all new to me. We had a show years ago on First Amendment Radio, and I gave it up because people just seem to like to talk and not do anything. And I think a little bit of the personalities out there, or a few of the personalities are maybe coming around to understanding that we have to do something. And, things are coming around a little bit, but, I know Frank's been aware of issues a long time. Frank Henderline's my
Helderline.
Helderline. I keep messing that up. Anyway, sorry about that, Frank.
That's okay. Everybody gets it wrong.
Yeah, people spell my middle name with 2 T's too, which is kind of annoying. But anyway. So anyway, we're just kind of preemptive here and going to wing it for the next 2 shows, like I said. And we'll talk about we talked about island makers on those comp shows we did a few months ago. But, I guess that's the main thing we're concentrating on lately. Like I keep telling people, I've been chasing cats for about 8 years now since the internet took off and Facebook has a bunch of know-it-alls, that distract everyone with disinformation. And I formed Island Makers. I think it was like 2009 that took off. We have to get our database built up to name people who are creating problem areas in the movement. And, our PAC's whole thing has been to, get the states back from the federal government and, work under their proper sovereignty that they did before the Civil War transpired and the 14th Amendment system, which I call the Marxist system, took over. People aren't aware of it. I get people tell me all the time that, they talk to people and they don't understand that they're communist. And the thing I tell them is, income tax really wasn't a thing until it was mentioned in the Communist Manifesto. And that's one of the prime indicators or facts that America is communist. So that's my litmus test, at least one of the things. And, of course, all the planks and a lot of the dogma is applied in America. So, I'm not paying the income tax. I haven't in 25 years. I got out of the system quite a long time ago. And, if you don't think you're a Marxist, you're a communist, why are you paying income tax? That's, one of the, things or points of the Communist Manifesto. So I think anyone that argues that point is ignorant. Or been, bamboozled and listened to the wrong people. Another point I bring up, if China is so communist, why are they so heavily involved in commercial enterprise and, making all our products, if they're not capitalist? So there's your lie. It's obvious. When I started studying these things, about 25 years ago, it was apparently clear what was going on, and of course the lies are there. And
people fall into that because they're born into that box. They don't know what's on the outside of it. So they think that they're trapped, that this is what they've got, and there really isn't a way, out. But they do try to find those ways out, and that's where people end up getting in trouble because they follow the wrong someone's advice, some way to skirt the law or skirt having to take responsibility or be accountable for their actions. It's sort of like a sneaky way around it, or it's sort of working the system from within, working that gray area, and that's where this. To kind of clear things up, that's where a lot of these folks on the Island Makers Project come from, because that's what they're doing. And a lot of it, I noticed, they're playing on people's greed. They're using that as a tool to manipulate them, to convince them that their way is better.
Well, you're talking about the straw man or the birth certificate issue, which is total hogwash. I mean, that wasn't an issue until. Well, people lightly talked about those things, 10, 15 years ago, but it didn't go gangbusters until I came out with my book. So that's prima facie evidence that it's disinformation made to distract people. Right.
They want to keep their minds occupied on something else and keep their money flowing their direction so that, you're tied up. You can't get anywhere in life. And you're always looking behind your back because you don't want to, you don't know what the area that you're messing around in, so you got to watch out.
Right.
These guys are everywhere. I had one fella comment on Facebook that the states didn't have constitutions prior to the the U.S. Constitution, that the U.S. Constitution came first. And I just thought, that's just total misinformation right there. This guy is ignorant as far as the hierarchy of law is concerned and the timeline of history of how things went down.
Sure.
But he's got a lot of listeners. He's got a lot of people that are listening to him and following him. And I really feel sorry for him because the people that are listening to him, because they're sorely misinformed.
Yes. Well, if he's making blanket statements like that, that's just total ignorance or ignorant on his part, because, all the states are entered into the Union differently. Of course, 13 colonies existed before the Articles of Confederation. They were plantations, some of them, and they had rules and regulations set up for them. Possibly, I haven't studied all the 13 colonies beginnings, but they had some, rules that they set up for them. I don't know if they're necessarily called constitutions, but the Republic of California and Texas existed and joined the Union afterwards or post Constitution. And right. I know for a fact, you live in Texas right now, Frank. I know Texas for sure had a constitution, and I know California did. So to say that no constitutions in the states existed prior to the Constitution is just totally ignorant to even state something like that. So that's just one example of people out there that have, flap their jaws for a bunch of people, and they're telling people falsities or, disinformation. Of course, disinformation is intentionally done, and we don't know who these people are. I know I'm real. I can tell you right that. I'll sign affidavits all day long to tell you that I'm not working for anyone. I did my own research, which doesn't include watching YouTube videos and listening to what people say in the movement. It's getting into source material and books. The people have written it to have merit. Some of the, projects like Yale University and the Avalon Project. I forget what university put that together. It might have been Yale, was it? I can't remember. But anyway, that's real source material that is true and correct, and not. It might be off key in some points, like history has been, skewed a bit to fit the agendas of the New World Order, but. They have to follow what they've written is the point made here. So that's what PAC's all about. We follow what they've said because they have to follow it. You can't make your own agendas up or say whatever you want, because it's not going to fly when it comes to challenging any of these things. So we have a comment here about how do you get out of the system, that we have every Tuesday night. PAC has an introductory call. I can get that link before the end here, and I'll put it in the chat box, and it's at 7, and we go over a lot of that. I don't know if we're probably going to get into that too much of those details on this show today. But that's a good opportunity if you want to know more about PAC and how to get out of the system. The introductory call is a very informational lead-in to that. And there's a question and answer discussion at the end of the call. The presentation lasts usually about a half hour to 45 minutes. It's very pleasant. Levi does an excellent job presenting the introduction, and at the end, like I said, we do questions and answers and comment section. So I'll add that, if you'll remind me, LB, at the end, to put that link in there, the phone number. Don't have it in front of me right now, but I'll get it on the break. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for doing those shows too, Frank. I know you've been assisting with that quite a bit the past months. I got them started, and they're introductory calls, like I think you mentioned. And it's a PAC introductory call. We don't go over a lot of details. We just cover the basics. PAC is set up as a leveled study, and I've been correcting people's status for about 20 years now. And that's one thing I can say about PAC. We've been around longer than any of these people. I mean, I think the PAC website is older than Alex Jones' website. So, all these, well, he's an operative. There's no doubt in my mind that he's an operative. He works for the New World Order. And people like that are funded, and they come along and they take over. And that's the problem PAC's had of establishing anything, because we're real and we're trying to make a difference. So that's, people might ask why we're not bigger. And, like I said a few minutes ago when we started the show today, I quit the show because people just like to hear people flap their jaws. They really don't do anything. And, information's pretty much worthless unless you do something with it. Our material is made to improve people's lives and change things. And we have remedies, and that's what we're about. And I think we're the only people that have a research book based on my research, not something that was thrown together by operatives or, agent provocateurs like that redemption manual was, which has got people put in prison. Our people don't go to prison. We do well because we do everything by the book, so to speak. Not my book, but by the rules, like I mentioned. So that's the difference between us and these other people out there that are undoubtedly. I would say about 80% of the people out there are plants or operatives in this movement that are preaching anything about law or remedies or conspiracies. That's another thing, People's Awareness Coalition, of course, the awareness verbiage in our title, that's PAC, PAC, People's Awareness Coalition. The A stands for awareness, and that was based in the conspiracy, the main conspiracy, and to bring people's attention to the political system isn't the same as the Founding Fathers set up. And that's the main reason for that. Of course, the Red Amendment, my book, gets into a bit of the conspiracy issues, and to educate people. But if someone's centering totally on conspiracies, they're a distractor. How many Illuminati hand signs can you understand or know about? And what good does it do you? All these people talk about is that, and there's no remedy in that. Yeah, it makes you aware of what's going on with these people, but it doesn't serve a purpose. So people like, I don't know, of course, Alex Jones talks a lot about conspiracy. David Icke does. Even that one guy that does the interviews, I can't think of his name offhand, but he strictly talks about conspiracies, and it's kind of a waste of time because it really doesn't, achieve anything. So,
well, there's a lot of folks that are talking about the problems, but there's not many that talk about solutions.
Right.
And that's an indicator to me. That's like a red flag. Because if they know so much, why aren't they doing something about it? I've just got a message here. You were talking about some source material.
It's Avalon Project is Yale.
Avalon.law.yale.edu.
Yep.
And that, but yeah, that Alex Jones, he wanted to. That guy, he's something else. And so many followers, so many people follow that guy. And it almost just seems like it's, I've seen it, and it's like regurgitation of emails that everybody sends me. I get emails from all these places. Well, I used to. I've kind of disconnected myself from a lot of it because it's really nonsense. I used to follow it a lot because I thought there was something to it. But it's like the carrot and stick. They just keep this dangling in front of you like, well, I'm going to come up with something new next time, or we're going to give you the solution on the next show. And the next show comes up, and then it's the same garbage over, just regurgitated, but no solutions.
Yeah,
and that's where PAC differs. PAC offers a solution. But
we have a plan too, you know.
Well, yeah.
We're refining how the operations work, but it's a work in progress. But like I said, I've been correcting people's statuses for 20 years almost now. I corrected mine about 20 years ago now. So, and living it, you know, people want evidence. You know, I tell them, well, I'm evidence. And I know you've heard stupid things about, well, they're gonna put you in prison if you do that. And I go, oh, well, I'm not in prison. Matter of fact, they leave me alone.
Yeah, from my experiences in interacting with other state nationals, they tell me the same thing. They tell me the same deal, that they're not messed with.
Well, that's because we do things correctly, and you know, we're you know, I train our people properly. You know, teach them properly what to do and whatever. It's not horse crap that they've gotten off the internet from operatives. And you can talk until you're blue in the face, and these people just don't listen. They still listen to the junk on the internet. And it's really a no-brainer. I mean, these guys, you know, Bush said back in 92 or 3 when he addressed Congress, I think he said it at the UN too, he said, we're establishing a new world order, and when it's successful, and it will be, or something to that effect, they know they can con people into following BS, you know, because they're lazy and don't want to do the research. You know,
they're looking for the easy way out. You know,
you mentioned greed too. They dangle that carrot, and people follow that. Like this I've been talking about, for example, well, the straw man stuff. People thinking there's a account where they have tons of money they can use, which that just gets people put in prison. That's a sting operation. And even this Bitcoin stuff, that I peg that as being, and I know you talked to several other people about the Bitcoin thing, about being a scheme. And the three things I've said about Bitcoin for years is it's in all of the system. Like, if you play in it, you know, you put up the red flags that way. So, you know, you're playing the system and trying to make money off it. And 2, it's a way to train people to accept a cashless society. And when I got into the movement about 25 years ago, you know, we were talking about, 1, state sovereignty, and the coming of this cashless society, which was a total invasion of privacy. And the usurpation of, you know, the monetary system. Of course, that's been usurped for a while with the Federal Reserve System, and a lot of people know about that and they dwell on it, but it's really not the main problem we have. But it's just training people to accept this cashless society, and people are doing it, hook, line, and sinker. And my third point on Bitcoin, it puts up red flags, so you are a target. You don't have, my currency and how much money I have or whatever you think you have is secret. No, it's not. You just pegged yourself or tagged yourself as trying to hide your finances or your taxable income, so that you're a target. And I had to laugh because a couple of weeks ago, someone wrote an article, and sure enough, the IRS is going after, you know, people that are dealing with these Bitcoin transactions.
Oh, yeah. I just read an article that on one of those cryptocurrencies that the IRS has ordered them to turn over the names of their users.
Right.
You know, and people, I mean, did it ever come to people's, you know, were they aware that perhaps this was created by one of the ABC agencies, you know, NSA or something, you know, as a way to get people excited about digital currency? Hey, look, you know, this is something that they can't touch it. You know, they can't get to it. It can't be. It's encrypted. But you know, encryptions have been broken before. You know, people who make those encryptions make backdoors for them.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with that that anyway. I mean, like I said, it's an invasion of privacy anyway.
Right.
Or it's a usurpation of the system, our lawful system.
That's right.
It's part of the system. The stock market, it's traded on the stock market, and that's the system.
That's
so
right.
I don't see why an idiot should be able to figure that out.
Right.
I don't know what these people are thinking. Like I said, they buy everything that's fed to them in this movement. You can say if it's popular or people are talking about it, it's probably, some kind of agent provocateur or plant program. Or as they call them, operatives, are out there by the dozens and dozens, hundreds.
Yeah, there's no discernment, into this because you can clearly see that they're playing on people's greed. I mean, it's just flat out the only way. It's a way to make money without really having to work for it or produce, create a value. I don't want to say work because a lot of people can create value without actually, physical labor. They can use their mentality, their intelligence, their intellect to make money or to produce value, which creates cash flow. But to people that when you see them doing this, that it's their greed that's hit. It's touching their greed. It's touching that greed button, and then they're just everything is lost. There's no discernment. They just forget it. It's about money. Let's go get it. So that's something that to me, when I see something like that happening and a crowd of people going that way, I go the other way because I know there's trouble over there.
Yeah, that's my point. If there's, like I said, if there's a lot of people doing it, it's probably wrong.
That's right. And like I said, it's because of the greed situation, and that's how a lot of these operatives work, whatever plan they have. It's always, our way's better and our way's easier. It's always easier for you to do it. I have the package here. All you have to do is, hand over your cash to me and I'll tell you how to get out of the system and I'll tell you how to skirt your taxes. One thing I notice is that all of them except for PAC are ones that keep you tied to the system. Somehow in their process, they've gotten you out of the system, but then they put you right back into it. And I just don't understand that. I can't wrap my mind around how that would possibly be beneficial. That's what there was a couple people recently, Winston Shrout and Sean David Morton.
Right.
They're both in prison now for doing that, for showing people this
easy way out or way to make money while you're skirting the system.
Right.
And it's not true. I mean, it's an oxymoron, so to speak.
Well, and there's a lot of people that have gotten away with it. And that's what they'll tell you. Well, I got away with it, because I think the reason that they let them do that, LB, is because they want them to gain the confidence so they can take more people down at the same time rather than just picking at one or two here and there. They want to take a whole bunch down.
Right. Yeah, if someone's gotten away with it, they just don't have enough people to. It's selective prosecution, the way they do these things.
Right. Well, it's sort of it's baiting. They're setting these people up. But we don't work like that. That's not how we play.
No.
PAC plays by the law.
We're pragmatic about what we do, and I've always been that way. For example, I don't know. I'm thinking we had a break, but I guess if we don't have a producer, they're not running the breaks on the half hour. So I didn't hear any cue. Yeah,
I didn't either. Okay.
I sorry to interrupt my thought there, but I'm kind of watching the clock here, and like I said, we're just kind of winging this. We haven't had any meeting of the minds as far as it should go to get our production notes and formats done. So we're working on that. Technically, or actually, rather, I wanted to start after the first of the year, but we had a chance to take this spot, it's a good spot, so we had to kind of start. And Frank and I talked about just using the next couple of weeks and just kind of generalize what PAC's about and talk about our calls that Frank mentioned and, the Island Makers Project and tell you what we're about. Again, we've been around 20 years, unlike most of these people out there. And we're the only group that, I wrote the book, which the PAC Foundation is built on. So I can explain the book and everything in it, unlike, most of these people that are copying or plagiarizing other people's work or what they hear on the internet, and they have no idea what it's about. I've been studying law for about 25 years now. So, and kind of on hiatus the last few years because I've been chasing cats because of what we've been talking about here. All this disinformation out there, it's kind of mind-blowing about trying to, get these people to listen to you because, again, they rather listen to the smoke and mirrors that's presented to them over truth and what's real. So it's kind of been maddening to get anything really accomplished. And the internet's helped that quite a bit. It's a great tool for the New World Order. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say before I mentioned the break or the absence of the break that was supposed to happen. I think I was talking about where were we? Anyway,
well, we were just talking about how operatives and how people get distracted by them and how they fall for their, they go for the greed in people.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's easy to get them to get their attention.
Yeah, bait and dangle carrots and
right.
Get people to follow programs that are just totally worthless. I have one friend that's on Facebook. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't think he likes to get involved, but he came to me a couple years ago and he thanked me up and down for my book, and he read it thoroughly and he practiced it. And I tend to counsel people that want help, or at least come to me and treat me with respect and ask questions. If they're arrogant and try to argue with me, prove I'm wrong or whatever, I don't have the time of day for them. But this young guy thanked me because he's never felt better. He's got half his debts paid off, and his kids are happy. He's not in prison like three of his friends who followed that straw man stuff are. And that's just one guy. He personally was tight with people that were doing that stuff. And he knows three people personally that are in prison for trying to get, free money or whatever with that straw man systems or birth certificate nonsense. So, I have story after story. I predicted Larkin Rose would go to prison, or was wrong at least, with what he was telling people years ago before he became an anarchist. And sure enough, he went to prison. So, I predicted all kinds of things. The Bitcoin stuff, like I said, that article came out a few weeks ago on they're targeting people now. I predicted that. And it's not because I have inside information. It's because I know law and know how these people work, like you're talking about, Frank. They bait people. And I have a rule: if you don't know law, you don't know anything. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And PAC, is all about law and understanding it and doing things correctly. And I was mentioning anarchy a few minutes ago and how bogus it is and stupid it is, because it's not going to fix anything. And it's kind of like the people that say, well, communism is a pipe dream. It's a utopian thing that can never exist. Well, that's what anarchy is. Because these people control things, just because you're not going to follow their rules is just going to get you in trouble. It doesn't fix anything. That's another, it's a planned opposition program to keep people away from what really truly needs to be done, which is get the states back. And the only way you can do that is through education and law and doing things politically. And that's why people are tied to the system. As long as you're tied to the system politically, you're going to be subject to it. And no one talks about that. There's some people that said, withdraw consent. Well, that's manipulated, hogwash. It's been diluted. That's based on PAC's work. It's just more operatives out there spreading disinformation and misinformation. They've diluted what my book's about. And, it just gets old because no one listens to the source of, these things, which, I'm not claiming I've come up with everything, and I give people credit. My mentors, it's in my book. I always give people credit for what they've done. And I can honestly tell you PAC was the first one to combine conspiracy issues and law together. William Cooper was touching on it, but, back in the 90s, he wrote Behold a Pale Horse in the early 90s, released that. There's been other people that have written conspiracy books. Even G. Edward Griffin, he's been at this since, he wrote Creature from Jekyll Island. He's been at this since the 60s, 1960s. He had Eustace Mullins, too. But the one thing I can say, and it didn't take me couple years of research and understanding, or sitting back and watching what's going on and doing research myself to understand the 14th Amendment changed everything. And none of these people talk about the 14th Amendment. William Cooper didn't. Eustace Mullins didn't. G. Edward Griffin doesn't. And it totally changed the political system of the Union. And it changed the Constitution. And that puts up red flags to me. There
was one video that I saw of it was with Bill Cooper, and he was talking about all of the lies that the government tells, about various things, all the ABC agencies. And he said something to the effect of, well, there's going to be a revolution, and he doesn't know if people will if we'll end up there'll be a fight so that we can bring back in the true Republican form of government that this country was founded on. And when he said that, it just kind of set me back a second, because I had never heard or read – I've read his stuff, and I've never seen him say anything like that. But so he knew. He knew that about the Republican form of government. People get that mixed up and they twist that around, and they try to correlate that with the Republican Party, which it is not the same. It's guaranteed Republican form of government in the organic Constitution, and people are unaware of what that is, and they don't know that exists. But I was just going to bring that up, that he did say that, and there was one video I have it bookmarked somewhere. I would have to dig it up, but he was a whistleblower of sort, and I think they got rid of him because of that. I think they get rid of people that. But see, he was still within the system itself. He was part of that system. So, yeah,
my point was, I did my own research, came up with my own conclusions, and these people don't talk about the elephant in the living room, or the elephant in the room. They just don't bring it up, and it's clear as a bell once you start doing your own research. So that tells me, they either are operatives, or, they copied other people have told them. They haven't done their own research. Yeah, they got their ideas from other places, or there's such.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there like that. They just pick and choose, cherry pick places and conglomerate it all together in a big soup. And say, well, this is really how it is. But they've, like you said, they haven't done the research themselves. They haven't even verified any of the research that they're sharing. which is something that I see in the PAC's research, in TRA, and on the website and on several presentations, that everything's backed up with footnotes based on where this the source information. Where's the source? Where did you find this out from? Because people will say a lot of things. They'll claim, like this Judge Dale, a lot of that stuff. They come to find out the guy wasn't really a judge, and it was, he just put a lot of this stuff together, and it was other people's work.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. Is he on Facebook?
No, it's someone in the freedom movement or the truth movement that claims to have been a judge and is giving all this historical data and these forms that you can use in these techniques that you can use to avoid this and that, and keeping out of trouble and all that. And a lot of that stuff, probably part of it probably could work, but it's all based upon you being in the system. If you're out of the system, you don't need any of that nonsense.
Well, if you're filling out forms of theirs, you're in the system.
Well, exactly.
That's the simple rule. If you're filling out their forms, you're part of the system. Right. So anyway, Judge Dale, it's like that fake Judge Anna fraud. She's an operative, no doubt in my mind. But tons of people follow her. And I call myself a jurist, but that doesn't mean I'm a judge. I just study law and understand law. And people think I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a lawyer either. So I don't know. Anyone that goes around calling themselves a judge is kind of arrogant, because it's a misrepresentation. People are automatically going to think you're in the system and a judge, and they're going to listen to you. So that's a deception and a fraud. So that guy sounds like just another failure or movement problem to me.
Yeah. Well, that's another one. Fake Judge Anna. There's a lot of people that follow her, and it's obvious that she's an operative, because how did she come to notoriety so quickly?
Yeah, that's one of my rules. If they become popular overnight, there's someone pushing that. There's a network of people that are doing it.
Well, somebody's footing the bill for it.
Right. It takes money to get those things accomplished. Right,
and there's there's really no basis in law for a lot of the stuff she comes up with. There's no reference to what law is. Like TRA quotes United States codes and constitutional law, and it's there. This is real. This isn't just somebody's opinion. Somebody just made something up. Now there may be some inferences and things like that, but it's all based upon the data that they've put out there, not just something that somebody has made up to get you to buy into this Continental Congress and Admiralty law type nonsense.
Admiralty maritime. That's a bunch of hocus pocus too.
Right.
Most of the stuff that's, people talk about with that is hogwash. And that's been going on a long time. That's misinformation back from the 90s. People don't understand. It's what we're dealing with is private law. It's not admiralty law. They might read something and misinterpret it, or, listen to what a court has said in a case and just mess it up. And that's like a snowball going downhill too.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what PAC's about. PAC is about, clearing a lot of that mess up and getting people centered on the research, and based in law, based in what the rules that we've been given to go by, not some made up deal where, oh, hey, there's a there's some digits on the back of your Social Security card, and that's your bank account for your whatever, and all you have to do is find the right routing number, and they'll pay your bills off for you. And like I said, there's people that have gotten away with that, but there's a lot of people that are in prison for it.
Well, I've talked to some people that thought they got away with it, and they come back on them. So, they get away with it for a while, but not really, because they come back on them.
Well, yeah, and they eventually will come back on them, and that's a lot of this thing, like we were talking about earlier about the cryptocurrencies. Don't think for a second that it's all hidden, and blockchain is something that can't be erased. You can't get rid of that. And once they crack that code, once they get into it, they know everything. And you may have got away with it 5 years ago, but in 5 years, a lot of things can happen, and they'll come back on you for it, or they can. There's a possibility that they can. So it's one of those things we try to keep people out of that mess by just doing your homework and getting educated. Get with PAC, get the Red Amendment, get to the introductory call for one. And there'll be a lot of questions answered, and it'll steer you in the right direction. People just have to, they're just going to have to remember that nobody's going to do it for them. There's no quick fix to anything. There's no quick fix to the problems that we have. And these problems that we had, we've all agreed to them because we've all tacitly consented to it. Look at how many voters there are, how many people vote. I know there's quite a bit that don't and that never have, that they know there's something wrong, yet they're still in the system. By voting, people don't understand it. By voting, you're consenting to it. You're consenting to being
governed
to be governed. Right, exactly.
Well, that's the main thing, and then the default situation is you're a citizen, so.
Right.
You're going to be subject to all the private law in the system. So
yeah, and that's something else people don't understand. It's a private law system.
Yeah, the whole system's based on that. So
yeah, which is a de facto system. It's not a de jure system the way our system was originally set up. And the Constitution is still there, but it doesn't. You're no part of that. And actually, the people of the states really weren't party to the U.S. Constitution when it first came out. That was between the states themselves. That's what that was for those people, for the representatives, and for the people that were taken care of. They were basically like a mediator, or let's say like somebody that took care of issues between the states, because the states, they had issues between themselves. There could have been a conflict, and the United States would step in. And they also were sort of a protector for people outside the United States, countries outside the United States. They could be the interface for them, so that they wouldn't get stomped on by other countries around the world. It wasn't ever meant to be a centralized government to govern the peoples of the states.
In the states, yeah.
That was the state's business to take care of. That was their they were independent nations. And they still are independent nations.
Yeah, as a matter of law, that's the fact of the matter. It's not a country, it's not a nation, it's a union. And they you'll see language like, that's loosely referred to as that. Well, loosely means there's a deception or fraud going on. It's not real. And, of course, people just use that language now. And matter of fact, that's one of the things that put up a red flag for me, pun intended, about the Communist Manifesto. There's one clause in there where Marx says, hello?
You're breaking up.
I don't know. Maybe in take it. I don't know what's going on. Take it and see if it clears up in a minute.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. It sounds kind of rough on your end, LB.
You're clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. We're coming up on the top of the hour here next.
Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about the calls again? I got to take a break here, and I'll be back in a minute. Maybe that problem clear up. Okay.
All right. Well, what we have is every Tuesday night at 7, we have an introductory call, and we talk about our government not being our constitutional government and how our states' houses are occupied by agent provocateurs that have been unlawfully seated via the 14th Amendment. And we talk about how you can lawfully correct your nationality, and we explain how, and sort of we don't get real deep into a lot of details, but we have Levi does a really nice project. Levi is a state national from the state of Virginia, and it was like I said, it's a really good presentation, and it'll help you understand kind of what we're talking about here. It will teach you about what the term national is, and what it takes to get you into a position that you can correct your nationality, and how we can all, if we all get together in PAC, and we can take our states back. And like I said, we'll take questions at that time. At the end, there's a discussion time, and we take question and answers, and we just get you filled in, into a little bit more detail onto what we're doing. And I guess I'm getting some feedback here, LB, that you sound okay. So maybe it was on my end that I was hearing something that I shouldn't have been hearing. It sounded like.
Yeah, I'm back now. Maybe it was, like you said, your connection. So.
Yeah, it might have been. I've had problems with Skype before, so I guess it's nothing new. But I just would encourage you folks. I put it in the chat on Revolution Radio chat box here on how to get on to the introductory call. I don't have that actually in front of me. Let's see. If you'd like to take down this phone number, it is 218-339-7800, and the access code is 123-1335. That's if you're going to call in by phone. And we have there's a computer link if you have to get on via your computer, but you're going to want to get on early because there's only 25 spots for computer link on this system. And I put that link on the chat. It's hello.freeconference.com/conf/123-1335, and that'll get you on the internet. But you'll have to get on early because if it fills up to 25, it won't let you on. So you'll have to call in. You'll have to use the call-in number, and I'll give you that again, which is 218-339-7800. The access code is 123-1335. And basically the rules are, if you just want to raise your hand or lower your hand during the question and answer session, you just press *2 on your phone. And on your computer, there's a little box where your icon is, and you just click that, and it'll have an option for you to raise your hand. With that said, what we usually do is we have the presentation. And like I said, it takes between a half an hour and 45 minutes. And at the end, we'll take questions and have a discussion. It's a very informative It's kind of low key, but it's informative as well. And I just recommend everybody, if you're listening to us now, we're going to be having that tonight at 7 at the end of this show. And I invite everybody.
That's right. It is Tuesdays. I forgot about that and the crossover between the shows. So I really appreciate the help you've given PAC the last, I don't know, year or so, Frank.
I just stumbled onto it. It was one of them things that I'm seeking the truth myself, but I was always trying to do it through, a business. It always seemed to me that I thought I had to make money doing it. I was never really super successful at anything except the business that I'm in. But I would always, I sought information. I sought materials to sounds like we're coming up on a break.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned that you've been in this while. We'll continue on that note after the break. You're listening to People's Awareness Coalition. I'm L.B. Bork. This is America's Road Home. And we do have the ultimate remedy for everyone if they're willing to take it. See you back here in about 5 minutes.